okay to rest. Well done. Number 2. It's necessary to rest. And the third point was, it's divine. Rest is divine. Rest is divine. Excellent. Well done. There you go, Steve. They were listening. Okay, last week Steve had a picture that he took for himself. This is my picture that I've taken for myself. This is the neighbourhood for Reggie and Joy, just down the road from their place. It's Lake Arapuni, a place called Jones Landing. We are continuing our journey through Psalm 23. And this is a journey, this is a journey of life, and we've been talking about that. David introduced it at the beginning Chris did, when we sat there and talked about the fact that this is something that's deep, that's something that's talking about our whole life, and a pattern for who we are and for where we're going. And so we're going to look at the last part of verse 2 and verse 3 this morning. And it goes like this. He says, in this part, and I've been learning some sign language, so I'm going to practice on you. Okay? So, he leads me, he leads me beside still waters. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me, here we go. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. For his name, it's his character, it's for his name's sake. Those are things that we want to sit there and start talking about and understanding. I'm going to unpack that last part of what Steve talked about rest being divine. And what that actually means. What does it mean when we say that rest is divine? And I just don't mean the idea of, how divine is it to rest? What does that actually mean when we're talking about it being something that is godly? And I'm going to ask this question for you to start off with as you ponder and you think and you respond to all of this. Who is God to you? Who is God to you? The psalmist will start out by saying, the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. That's who God was to the psalmist as he wrote this. Who is God to you? Because about the manner in which you understand that, the manner of your relationship, the manner of your connection is going to affect, it's going to influence, it's going to colour the way that you understand what rest is. And what happens in rest and what God is calling for you and what God is asking for you. And that understanding about your relationship and your understanding of who God is will determine about how deep that rest can become. And how truly fulfilling that rest will be. He starts out by talking about the idea that he leads me beside the still waters. He leads. It is God who leads. This is that idea of divine. It's not, you know what, I need some time away, I'm going to go find it. I'm going to go do what I need to do. This is God leading me to beside quiet waters. The idea of quiet waters, the idea is the water itself is life-giving. Water itself is the substance of life. Water is required for life. But we can have water that is rushing water. Water that if you sat there and, I know, Sue, you went on a grade 5 rapid one time and all power to you, wonderful and everything, but can be incredibly unsafe. These are safe waters. This is a place where you don't have to fear. Fear is removed. Any of the dangers are gone. The things that threaten you are not there. And the water itself will not be a danger to you, to who you are. I don't know what God's doing, but he seems to be bringing up these constant thoughts in my mind and constant directions that he's leading me in and everything. And again, this is something that has happened a long time ago, and it seems to be a reoccurring theme in my life and coming back to me again. We live in, most of us live in Tauranga. Most of us live here in Tauranga. Tauranga means safe harbour, quiet waters, safe anchorage, resting place. This is where we dwell. This is where you and I dwell. Now, for you guys, ever so briefly, you leave your safe harbours tomorrow, but this is where we dwell. God has put us in a place of safe harbour, and we just have to look out our windows and understand what that actually means. We sit there and look at the harbour that's around us, and we know that inside that harbour the water is calm, but if you go out through the channel, past the mount, through Matakana Island and on the other side, that is not going to be what it's like out there. That cannot guarantee that out there is the same as what is in here. Here is constant. We have a flow tidal that comes and goes, sure, but you're not going to have the same wave problems. You're not going to have all of those scary problems about the water. And I also appreciate that for parts of our population and some of our generation here and parts of us that have grown into, water is not something that we associate with something that is calming. And I have come to appreciate that and connect that. Often the thing that we will associate that is still, that is calming, that is a place of peace, is coffee. Am I wrong? He leads me to the coffee shop. But not just any coffee shop, okay? We're not going to, the Wild Bean Cafe at your local BP store where you grab the coffee to run and to go. That's not rest. That's not the coffee that says, you know what, I've got rest. That's the coffee that says, I'm going, I've got what I need, my sustenance, and I'm still going for it, and I'm powering through life. It's not that. It's not the Wild Bean Cafe that even has the little seats there, or quite frankly, most cafes that have the hard table and the hard seats and the sit down and there's the clatter and there's the noise, and basically it's encouraging you, sure, sit down, drink your coffee, but get out of here because we want more people coming and drinking coffee. No, this is the kind of coffee that Suze would appreciate, and those of us with understanding of other cultures. This is fika. This is sitting down with a lovely, soft couch. This is grabbing that aroma-filled coffee cup in two hands and just melting into it and going, I smell the coffee. I feel the warmth coming in. It just melts away and I feel at peace. And I start to drink and it tastes good and it's wonderful and it's not on the run and I have nowhere else I need to be and I have nowhere else I need to be going. I am where I need to be. And we take it, we understand that, we get that connection. It's that still waters. I can be at rest. And for a moment, my mind does not actually think about the 1 million other things that I've got going on in my world around me. The 101 other things that are clamoring me for attention, the things that are on my to-do list for the day, the things that are sitting there saying are so pressing that you need to be getting onto this, you need to be doing this, you should be doing this. All of the things and the pressures of life just seem to melt away. They don't exist anymore. My mind can be at rest. He leads me beside still waters. That place where my mind can be at rest. This is where God wants me to be. If He wants me, this is the kind of rest that God is calling us to. He says, I'm calling you to this kind of rest, and I'm calling it to you for a purpose. Calling you to it for a purpose. I want you to rest. I need you to rest. I need you to let everything else go. And just be. And it's just not you who's there, because God is there with you, because He led you there. So this is just you and God. Just you and God. There together. Without anything else going on. Who is God to you? Who is he to you? Why has he called you here to sit in this place of quiet? Why has he called you here to be resting? He does it because he wants to restore your soul. He restores my soul. You know that idea of restoring? That idea of restoring is sitting there saying, here is something that has old. It is broken. It doesn't work like it should. It maybe has been left out for too long, it's a bit rusty or something like that, it needs to be reworked. To restore something means that have you ever restored something, or maybe you watched a YouTube video on somebody restoring something or doing something? They will pull it apart. They will carefully take it apart. They will carefully remove all of the parts. They will clean all of the bits very carefully and very gently. And they will find, if it's maybe if something's made out of wood and it's started to rot away, they'll cut away the bits that are rotting away. They will take away the bits that are broken. They will repair those parts. Maybe if it's metal and it's all rusty, they'll clean off the rust and they'll restore the moving parts and the connecting parts. Maybe they may need to replace a part or two in that restoration process. But when the restoration is over, when the restoration is complete, it looks like it did when it began. Restoration is the process of saying, I'm taking what was once new, has now become old, and I'm restoring it back to its original state. God takes us there, takes us to this quiet place where we can remove ourselves from everything else. Why? Because he wants to be in the process of restoring you and me. Taking us apart and putting us back together again. When you go on your rest, when you go and sit there and say, yeah, rest is okay, rest is necessary, but this rest is divine. We want true rest. We need to be willing to sit there and sign the informed consent document. You go off to a doctor, sit there and say there's work that needs doing on you. First we're going to tell you about that work that needs to happen, and you need to sign an informed consent. I need to sit there, and as part of my contract with God, my understanding of God when it comes to rest, I need to be sitting there saying, Lord, I invite you to restore me. I invite you to restore me. The psalmist will say in Psalm 139, right at the end of Psalm 139. Psalm 139 is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Read the whole psalm about God who knows me. But at the end of it he says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. Invite God to say, Lord, what in my life needs working on? What's not working properly? What is the parts that are broken? What are the parts that don't operate as they should, as they once did, as they once used to, but now I need them to be working again, and they just don't seem to function. And we cry out to God, we ask God and invite God in to be restoring us. He restores my soul. Is there anything better than a restored soul? That feeling like you're new again. That feeling like you've just had all the treatment that you need, and you are, your knees working again, Mark, as it once did. When you think my ears work as they once did, a long time ago. The parts of us that creak and hurt as we get out of bed in the morning and everything, they don't hurt anymore. the freedom of movement. You used to be able to walk freely once upon a time, but now you hobble along. You can walk freely again. Spiritually, what does that mean for you spiritually? What does that mean to you in your walk with God? As once upon a time, I must be, when I was younger and not a care of the world and trusted in God and everything, but now the worries of the world have crept in on me and I feel choked out by those things. Lord, restore that freedom that I had and that trust and that joy that I once had walking with you. Restore. Bring it back. Bring it to its former glory. Paul writes in Romans this. Romans chapter 8. It's quite a well-known chapter for a number of reasons. Romans 8. Talking about God at work in us, and we talk about the Spirit at work. And he says, verse 28, very often misquoted verse, but we know all things work together for the good for those who love God, for those who are called according to his purpose. For whom he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. There's the good that we are working towards, to being conformed to the image of his Son. That's the good. All those things for those who love God, that's where you're going. There's the good, to being conformed into the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren, that he might be part of a whole lot more just like him. Moreover, those he predestined, he called. Come by my quiet waters. He called and said, come and rest by my quiet waters. And those he called, he justified. Justified, he made right. He restored. That which was pure and now no longer pure, he justifies and makes pure again. He restores our soul. But not only that, those he justifies, he also glorifies. See, God's just not in the interest of basically leaving you as you once were. As good as that was and as good as that is, and as wonderful as you are as a human being and as a follower of God, he is interested in making you better. When it comes to rest, when it comes to that divine rest, when it comes to that rest that truly God is seeking for us to have, it's just not about sitting there and taking a break and going away and sitting there and then coming back to it and still having all the same troubles, all the same thoughts in my mind, all of the same pressures that I had on. Those things will still be there, but it's just not about me being the old person I always was and trying to tackle it the way that I used to tackle it every other time. God wants us to be better. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. He's going to take me down the right path for my life, for our life. As we dwell here in these places of quiet waters, as we dwell in the place of a safe harbour, he is remaking us and rebuilding us, not only to be as good as we once were, but to be even better. To be even trained to understand and to deal with the problems and all of the stresses and everything that led us to that rest in a better way. He leads me in paths of righteousness. I want you to go down the path that is right, that is good. Not the path that you used to think. For there's a way that seems right to man, but in the end it leads to death. My ways are higher than your ways, God says. My understanding is much greater than your understanding. God's understanding of what is right and the paths of right is going to far outweigh any opportunity that I have to sit there and think this is the right path. And it is only in those quiet times, it is only in those times of rest, it is only in those times where I'm actually seeking God and asking God to say, what is it that you are doing and rebuilding in my life? What is it that you're giving to me in my life that I will hear what those paths are. You can consider Jesus in the number of times that he would go off and spend time alone with his Father, connecting with his Father, resting, all night in prayer, talking. You know, I like going away on holiday. Susan and I, we've been married for 33 and a half years, not your 49 years, but 33 and a half. You know, and we live together and connect together, and we have all sorts of life happenings and everything going on and everything together, but we like going on holiday together. You know why? Because that's just a time for us two to be together and to connect together. But we're together all the other times as well, and we think, but yeah, life just gets in the way. And sure, we're doing and we're coexisting together, and we're sharing with one another, and we share our problems and we share our solutions and everything. But there's something special about being away alone together that says we connect and we are able to restore and build those relationships and build and understand and talk about our focus and our dreams going forward and where is it we actually want to be going. And actually think about things that are bigger than the day-to-day life that just seems to get in the way of all of that. And that's what God wants to do with us. He says, I want you to take your time away and say, away from those things so we can sit there and talk about where are things going? What is the path that I am leading you on? Because if we don't sit there and do that, we will end up just back where we started. In the same trouble, in the same stresses, and in the same broken down state is where we all started. But God says, I will rebuild you and make you into something much, much better. In this last frame, for his name's sake, what's the deal with that? Here's a phrase that you don't commonly hear on the streets these days, for his name's sake. His name signifies who he is. Yahweh Roy, the Lord is my shepherd. That's his name in the psalm. His name connects him with who he is and what he does. For his name's sake, for his character. This is the character of God. This is the very nature of who God is, about wanting to take care of us, of loving us enough to want us to take away some time just to spend, just him and you, just him and me. Spend the time repairing the broken parts, pulling us apart and putting us back together, restoring us to new, but then adding to that to lead us on to potential, for greater potential for him, for what he has us called for. What is God calling you to? Where is he leading you? Where is he leading us? Where are we going? What is our right path that we continue on with God? Because in some respects that's an individual thing, but also that is a collective thing that we have together, that we're moving on together. God is calling us on that path. But we're only going to know that path, we're only going to understand that path, we're only going to connect with that path if we go down the idea that it is okay to rest, it is necessary to rest, and it is divine to rest, because that divine rest is where we will find the answers. That's where we will find the answers, not in the busyness of life, not in some other stressful way of things, of just forcing our way through something, or trying to grunt your way through and get to the other side. That's not where it's found. The psalmist will tell us that over and over again. You look in Jesus' life over and over again. He'll go away to pray, and when he goes away to pray, he comes back down and he says, you are the 12. There's his direction. He will go to the Garden of Gethsemane and so pour out all of his worries and his fears and his things and be completely undone, and God pulls them apart and puts them back together again, and when he comes back out again, I have a path and I know where I'm going. I know what I'm about. I know what I'm doing. The Jesus that went into the Garden of Gethsemane is a very different Jesus to the one that came out. Yet he's the same. And the difference was that time with God. that time resting, being remade and sent out again. God has something for each one of us, and God has something for us collectively. Will you sign the letter of consent and allow God to be at work in you, to search you and to say, this part needs to be remade, this part needs to be remodeled, this part I need to make better? Are you prepared to actually do that? Do you trust him to do that? Do you trust him to take care of you and say, I will take care of you, I will look after you? I only have good things in mind for you, for my kingdom. Do you trust him? Who is God to you? And here's the other thing I just want to leave us with today and remind us about today. We're only partway through the psalm. May God bless your day.